This is Strictly Business, presented by the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Sponsored in part by the law offices of Young Wooldridge, San Joaquin Community Hospital.
Welcome back. I'm Jimmy Phillips, hosting today. We are joined now by Tracy Leach of Kern Citizens for Energy to share with us a little more about their organization and what they have to offer businesses. Tracy, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. So tell us a little bit more about Kern Citizens for Energy, or KCE.
Yes, sure. Happy to. Thanks for having us on. Kern Citizens for Energy, as the name would imply, is a local organization where, yes, businesses, individuals, we have chambers of commerce, organizations can come together and support the local oil and gas industry specifically, but really all locally produced energy. We want to start applauding, standing up for, and being well informed about this industry because we are the hub in the state of California for all forms of energy.
It's interesting because this morning we already reported on a news story that you might be aware of up in San Francisco and Berkeley. They're thinking about putting these warnings on gas pumps that driving leads to or enhances global warming. Obviously, we have a slightly different angle here in Bakersfield, where we are the oil hub, if you will. So how does your organization help citizens find a healthy balance between protecting the environment but also supporting our local industries?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you're probably aware, Kern County is home to 80% of all oil and gas produced in the state of California. So that's wonderful. We receive 80% of those economic benefits. We also receive 80% of the regulatory attacks and all of the negatives that are directed at this industry. So we want to be a source of facts. We want to help people be well informed and use facts and science and not hysteria. And be actually educated on the petroleum industry. As you said, the warning labels going on that you're a bad person for driving a vehicle. We want to balance that out with attention to facts.
So where did the organization, obviously your goal then is to keep people informed in a balanced way. How did the organization get its start?
Well, there's a group of us who realized that we have to do a better job, we think, of telling the story about the petroleum industry, about the oil and gas industry, and all the benefits. Because a lot of us here, we sort of take it for granted. It's not unusual for us to drive around and there's a pump jack in the middle of a shopping center parking lot. We're very accustomed to that. But actually, even those who work in the industry, we don't know a lot about what it means to our county, what the benefits are, what the impact is. We're very accustomed to it. I would argue that most people here probably support the industry, but we need to be more vocal about that and be better informed. The industry here, I don't think most people who work in it even realize they're responsible for a third of all property taxes paid to Kern County.
Wow.
$400 million annually.
Wow.
Goes into Kern County coffers, and that's what funds things like schools, roads, public safety, very critical services in Kern, and the oil industry is responsible for a third of it. So we want those kind of stats and facts, we want to get out into the public domain.
Those are really interesting stats. We talk about, obviously, we're in the big retail season right now, and there's the whole push to buy local on certain days and such. Even though the oil industry isn't a retail industry per se, maybe this is a good time of year for people to be informed on what the local oil industry means to our local economy as well.
Absolutely, that's right. A lot of those retailers, as you can imagine, probably wouldn't exist but for the oil industry and its 50,000 employees. There's 50,000 Kern County citizens who have a job directly due to the oil industry. That makes
50,000, you said?
Yes, there are 50,000 direct and indirect jobs related to the oil industry in Kern County, and that means you want to come in and start up that retail operation and create that restaurant. And to service all of that, there's a huge trickle-down effect to this industry in our county, and it's $300 million annually in sales tax from the industry, and that sales tax revenue is critical too.
So you start to take away some of that. You think about the dollars that would not be here in Kern County, the jobs, and the trickle-down effect could be pretty drastic.
Yes, that's right, absolutely. That's why we felt the urgency and the need to start speaking up about this industry and maybe not so much taking it for granted as we tend to do.
So let's shift to to what the threats are. We talked about one with the stickers up there in the Bay Area, but what are some of the threats that people may not know about that could hurt both our local economy as well as statewide?
Yes. Well, I'm not going to give too much play to the organizations. There are many of them who would like to destroy the oil and gas industry. I think that's pretty well documented. Just pick up a paper or watch news, and you will see those organizations. They have agendas, and the troubling thing is they tend to slip from facts into hysteria, emotion-based arguments that are not based on science. And we want to be the opposite of that. And that, along with politicians in Sacramento and in Washington, D.C., who don't get the oil industry, who have a very limited understanding of it, and yet attempt to regulate it, tax it, add impacts to it, that is, of course, going to redound negatively to Kern County in a very large number, and it's troubling. And that's why we need to do a better job here locally of advocating and being the best informed citizens because of those threats.
Would you say that misinformation is one of the biggest threats here?
Yes, I would say that. Misinformation. There are things you read that if they weren't so serious about it, you would laugh out loud because they have no understanding of the oil industry. Literally, in some cases, none. Yet they make statements and they attempt regulatory actions that, they demonstrate their lack of understanding.
Well, I guess that makes sense in the sense that if 80% of the industry is here in Kern County, how can I expect someone from 300 miles away in California to be as informed on this issue as we should be here locally?
Yeah, very true. Yet they have a vote in Sacramento. And so we feel we need to do a better job of advocating. And yes, educating our own citizens and then educating those folks about the industry in truth. Let's deal in actual truth.
So if I'm citizen A out there, what's the best way for me to find out more information on this industry, on your organization? How can I get involved?
Yes, no, I appreciate that. Go to our website, kerncitizensforenergy.com. We're also on Facebook, of course. Everybody pretty much is on Facebook these days. So if people want to click on their Facebook and find us, we want you to like it. We want you to join. There's no cost. It's a matter of having numbers. It's a matter of a bunch of Kern County citizens standing up for the industry. So we really want to count you and create a formidable coalition of people who say, hey, there's a few things this industry does really well, and there's wonderful things they do for our community. You can't look at any nonprofit in Kern County and not see the impacts of the oil industry, the generosity that the oil industry has demonstrated towards them. And that's on our website as well. So kerncitizensforenergy.com, Facebook, those are the best ways to find us. Just click on that and show your support for the oil industry in Kern County.
One of the neatest things at the hospital, at San Joaquin Community Hospital back in 2009, we opened our Grossman Burns Center.
Yes.
And we had major donations from Era Energy, Chevron, and also Occidental Petroleum.
Oh, wonderful.
And what was really neat about that is seeing these major competitors came together to put their name on and support something that was going to improve the health and wellness of the community. And I know that we're, just one example of that, but it's really cool to see the generosity of the oil industry and how they've supported Kern County in general.
Absolutely, I agree with you. That story is repeated throughout our community, and we need to recognize that and acknowledge that, and that's one of our goals as Kern Citizens for Energy. So,
in terms of timelines, bills that are going on right now, anything specific that people should be aware and informed on?
Yes, mostly here in Kern County. The county is in the process of doing an environmental impact report on the industry. This will result, we hope, in a streamlined permitting process here in Kern and local permitting. We want to keep permitting as local as possible. That is generally a far better thing than having it go to Sacramento or elsewhere. So that environmental impact report, also known as an EIR, is underway, adding to the urgency that we need to support this industry. That process opens up to public comment and all these organizations we were talking about coming in and making outlandish claims about the industry. So we need to do a good job of being advocates and dealing in facts during that process. So that has added a bit of urgency to our cause.
And what's the timeline for the report, and
That
how
will
can I get
be,
the information?
On the county's website, Kern County Planning Department, you can find information on it, and it will be before the Board of Supervisors probably by the end of the summer, and hopefully we'll get a great result, local permitting, and we want to, throughout that process of the next year, 2015, be speaking up for the industry.
And what kind of tangible information is going to be in the report?
Oh my goodness, they will be studying absolutely everything that the oil and gas industry does in Kern County. The drilling of the wells, the air quality, soil, water, you name it, that will be studied scientifically. So we actually welcome that process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, do it right, do it in a science-based fashion, and then you come up with permits, and you come up with a process for issuing permits. Once you know all the impacts and you've studied them, and people who are qualified to do that, study them, then we'll have a framework, we hope.
So it's an attempt to really have a process by which permits are granted via facts,
Yes.
not just, like you said earlier, the word you used was hysteria. I
Yes,
think.
no, that's never desirable when you have a business, you employ people, you have capital at risk, you have all sorts of threats to your company. I mean, you see the dropping price per barrel of
Right,
oil.
right.
I mean, that's a risky business.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because obviously consumers, they think, oh, my gas prices are dropping.
Yeah, it's
but what's the
terrific.
effect on that for the oil industries?
Yeah.
Is there a double-edged sword here for us in Kern County?
Well, sure it is. I'm no expert on that, but I mean, we follow it enough. My family members all work in the industry, and they're being told at their companies to tighten their belts. So you're right, a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
We sure love the price at the pump,
Right.
but there's a lot of people, a lot of jobs dependent on that industry. And of course, it's like any other business. The profits reduce, and you need to tighten your belts and watch your spending. And ultimately, we hope jobs don't get lost. But of course, it is a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about, savings on the front side. There's a back door too, and sometimes
Sure.
those dollars are lost elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to always think about the differing perspectives and the
Yeah,
fact
yeah.
that there's always different sides of each issue.
Sure, absolutely.
All right,
Yes.
so Kern Citizens for Energy.
Yes.
Right. Like you on Facebook. Go
Absolutely.
there. Just search for it, and I'm sure
Yes.
it'll be there.
Yes.
Make sure you like them on Facebook, and also look for that study coming out this summer.
Yes.
That's going to be really important. Get involved. Get on your website. Learn the statistics. Maybe you can rattle them off in conversation, and just be part of
Exactly.
the effort to be informed. Right.
Yep, that's it.
Fantastic.
Thank
Tracy,
you.
thank you so much for joining us
Thank you,
today.
Jimmy. Appreciate it.
I'm Jimmy Phillips, and we'll be right back with our closing bell.